We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. This is going to be one of those TikTok live podcasts. And the reason I'm doing the live, I haven't started it yet, but I just finished up watching Donald Trump's acceptance speech at the RNC convention. Speech isn't over, but I've heard enough of it. We're now getting to the same shit he always says. But let's go to the live and get some people coming in and we can talk about it there and here. So bear with me a little bit. I got to tell you, Donald Trump seemed a little low key, little fucking low key. Much of the first part of it was on script, and I'm surprised he stayed on script. But I was surprised by the fact that he was so low key early on. As he got later into the speech, he got a little more heightened, but not much. I don't know if this is all part and parcel to his experience with the assassination attempt, or they just told him to calm the fuck out. I don't know what it is. All right, just so you folks on TikTok Live know, I'm doing the live. I'm doing it because I just finished watching the Donald Trump acceptance speech at the RNC, and I know you're going to say it's not over yet. Well, I've seen enough, and everything else beyond this point is stuff we've heard over and over and over again. And I have a tough time stomaching lies and ridiculousness. It's absolutely fucking crazy. So now we got a few people on TikTok Live. I'm also recording this for a Rational Boomer podcast, and we'll talk about some shit. Let's talk about this RNC. This RNC to me, especially tonight with Donald Trump, it wasn't a big ratings bonanza up until tonight. Well, Donald Trump is speaking, so there's going to be more people at the event. But to me, this looked like a bunch of rabid white people at a tractor pull. I mean, when you think the fact that there was Kid Rock there, Hulk Hogan, Dana White from the UFC, it's like a fucking circus in there. But that's not surprising because it is a fucking cult, and they proved it today. Now, as I was talking about um, this particular night with Donald Trump speaking, he came out and he seemed very, very low key, much more low key. Either that's his personality now after going through this event, or they told him just chill the fuck out, motherfucker. Most of the first part of the speech was scripted, and it was a lot like a poorly written one man show, you know? I can't give Donald Trump much credit because he's not very good at what he does. And then, of course, he talked about the assassination, made himself out to be a big hero. And then also, for once, finally mentioned the gentleman that was killed and the two others that were injured in this. It's been 4 days. You might as well bring him up now. He's got as much attention as he can possibly get. He had the maxi pad on his ear. All I have to say is, you want us to buy this shit? Let's see the ear. Because if you got shot with a high velocity round, that fucking ear would be gone, at least a good chunk of it. So I'm not buying it. Day after he gets shot, he's playing golf and selling t-shirts. So I don't feel too empathetic to him. Lydia says, at least Biden stands on his word. How can you trust someone who is evil? Well, that's exactly it. You know, he comes out in this speech and he talks about unity. How ironic is that? There is nothing about unity within the Republican Party, and he's at the top of the heat, and he is the most divisive motherfucker there ever was. I mean, his call for unity, he said something like this: a win with half the country is not a win. Well, of course it's not. Ironic thing is, Donnie, you didn't win the popular vote. You didn't even get 50%. So apparently you didn't win in 2016. Well, we do know that you probably did cheat as well. All right. The crowd should say, show us the ear, show us the ear. The crowd's not going to do anything. They're going to stand behind anything he says, even if they know it's a lie. This whole thing with this RNC, I'm glad it's over because I'm watching the media, the left side media, MSNBC, CNN, kind of placating these people and kind of hyping them up. I've about had it with mainstream media, at least the cable news. They all seem to be going south on the Democrats, and the Democrats themselves aren't doing themselves any favors. I'm not buying it either. Glass shard. I don't even think it's a glass shard. There was blood. Maybe Hulk Hogan gave him one of those, um, one of those razor blades, and he cut him. So I don't know what happened. He did seem to be different. That's what I've said before. If this was a real shooting and he was totally surprised by it, he would behave differently. And the fact is, he did behave a little differently. He's a little more introspective, a little more pensive, which is rare for Donald Trump. Let's see. I don't believe he has changed, nor do I believe he was shot. More ricochet material. Um, that's one of the things that people said. Well, what if he comes out and he's really nice and he says he's changed? Does that make up for overturning Roe v. Wade? Does that make up for 134 felony convictions? Does that make up for the time he spent consorting with Jeffrey Epstein? See, that's the thing. There's nothing he can do to repair his reputation. It is absolutely fucking shot, and there's nothing he can do to fix that. I like presidents without pierced ears. That's a good point. I don't think it was meant for him to be shot. I think it was set up and he accidentally got hit. Who knows what happens? That's the weird thing. That's the sad thing about this. I said early on when I found out somebody died in this whole morass, it can't be staged because nobody would go to that extent. Um, um, Nobody would go to that extent. Uh, but the fact of the matter is that it's not beneath Donald Trump. It's just not. It's not beneath him. It's That's the sad thing about it. We don't know what extent he would go to. Uh, Jules says, "Hi, Mike. Glad to see you. Glad to see you too. Thank you for joining us." Great Captain says, "Ignore the trolls and just laugh at them like their parents did. Mods will handle them." Yeah, I'm looking for one of my mods now, TJ the plumber. I got to make him a new mod because he he got a TikTok screwed him up and he had to get a new account. They're looking for the ketchup pat. Michelle's store accidentally hit by debris, and then the clown show started. I'll be honest with you here. The RNC happened. Donald Trump made a fool of himself. There was an assassination attempt, but now the RNC should be pretty much over after tonight. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's not the problem. The problem is not the Republicans trying to take down the Democrats. I worry about the Democrats trying to take down the Democrats. There's a lot of really crazy shit going on with these people continuing and continuing to try to get Joe to step aside. Um, and I don't quite understand it. If you wanted him to step aside, I get that. He's old. But you should have done that a year ago or maybe 2 years ago. And now 4 months out, you think you can pull this off? They keep talking about how there's all these polls that show Joe Biden sinking in the polls. Funny thing is, I've never seen these polls. All the polls I've seen said they're pretty much even and there wasn't much change. But these Democrats keep talking about these polls. And then they start talking about, well, the fundraising's drying up. Well, wait a minute. Joe Biden's got $200 million in the bank. 96% of the people who donated money were small donors like you and me, $200 or less. What's drying up is the wealthy, big time donors. And don't you find that strange? Why would they want Joe to step aside when he's been such a great president? Well, Joe's at a point in his life where he doesn't have much to lose. He's talking about raising taxes on the rich, helping out the middle class, forgiving loans, expanding Medicare. And this is not something the rich people want to see. And if Joe gets in office for the next 4 years, he doesn't have to run again. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. And they don't like that shit. If he were to step down, I would love to see Jeffries or Raskin go for it. I would love to see that, but that's not going to happen. It really can't happen. The only person who can legitimately replace Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. That's all that can do it. Because once you do that, now you got to start building somebody up. You got to start raising money for them. If Kamala is the one, she can get all the money that Joe has already raised. She'll start on the ground running. I will tell you this. I still think that the best choice is to have Joe Biden run, because I don't think this race is about personalities. It isn't Joe versus Donald Trump. It's really about democracy over autocracy. It's over a president and a dictator, fascism. That's what it is. And one of the things you don't see in these polls is how many people are frightened at the prospect of Donald Trump becoming president. I want you to remember something. 2020, more people than ever came out and voted. Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Donald Trump got 74 million votes. That was unprecedented. A lot of people came out. Do you think Joe got 81 million votes because he was such a great candidate? Well, now after the fact, he became a great president because he's accomplished more than any other president, including Donald Trump. But did they come out because they loved Joe so much at that point? No. Most of those votes, well, I won't say most of the votes, a lot of the votes were a vote against Donald Trump because of the fear of Donald Trump getting back into the presidency. During the primaries, we saw Donald Trump lose 15 to 20 points, or 15 to 20% to Nikki Haley, who wasn't even on the ballot. Now, those people didn't support Nikki Haley either. They supported not voting for Donald Trump. So my point is that if they were afraid in 2020, don't you believe that they're probably more afraid now after we know all we know? 34 convictions, Jeffrey Epstein, stealing of documents. We didn't know any of this stuff before 2020. We had no idea that he was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, but he did do that, and he takes credit for it. Donald Trump, as far as how people perceive him and the danger he presents, is far worse now than he did in 2020. Rock Blue says Trump walked out tonight to the song "It's a Man's World," scary for us women, and Project 2025. Is that true? I don't know that I heard that. "A Man's World" by James Brown. I've said that before, and I'd love to debate anybody who wants to debate me on it. But what the Republicans are doing, what the evangelicals are doing, is a flat out war against women and children for that matter. And because of that reason, because of Roe v. Wade, we've got a ton of people that just refuse to vote for him. I mean, watch what happens in Florida. That's been notoriously a red state as of late, Donald Trump's home state. But they got a problem down there. They now have pretty much an all-out abortion ban. It's a 6-week ban. But they were able to get the question put on the ballot in this coming November's election. And that question is, should abortion be legalized? They're going to get a big turnout for that particular question. And when it's done, there'll be a mandate saying that abortion should be legalized in Florida. The vast majority of the people in Florida, whether they be Republican or Democrat, support Roe v. Wade. We've got a lot of younger people, millennials and Gen Zs coming up, and this affects them directly, and they are going to react to that. So we get all these people coming to the polls that may not have come to the polls before to vote on that topic. That could mean there's more people voting for the Democratic side. And if that's the case, there's a distinct possibility they could turn Florida blue. Marty Marmar says, I'm afraid that DT goal is to wipe out 50 years of civil rights progress. Oh, I think there's no question about it. Here's the thing you have to understand about Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't know anything. He's not a very bright man. And this is the problem when he came in 2016. All these draconian things that Donald Trump did, I don't think they came out of his mind. Donald Trump is an easily manipulated guy. All you have to do is pat him on the head and tell him he's a genius and he'll do whatever you want. There's a lot of evil people around him in the Republican Party and the evangelicals. They know how to pull his strings. They know how to get him to react. Money, popularity, ratings, votes. They promise him that he'll do anything. The abortion thing was part and parcel, and now he is proud of this fact. So um, the Republicans have a lot of problems. I mean, not even the Democrats can screw up that part. I've said early on, right after the 2020 election, somebody said, should Joe Biden run again? At that point, I said, no, he was too old. Um, but that's the time they should have decided to run somebody else. Um, Pack says, if Joe steps aside, we lose. That's it. Game over. It's frightening. Well, Pack, I'll tell you what, you're wrong. Because it's not about Joe Biden. It's not even about Donald Trump. It's about the fear in the vast majority of the people in this country. Like I said, Joe got 81 million votes, not because he was a star, but because they were voting against Donald Trump, trying to keep him out of office. Whether it be Joe or Kamala or virtually anybody on the Democratic side, the Democrats are going to win. That's just the way it's going to go. The Republicans have done so much damage to their party. There's really very little path for them to go. You can talk about the polls, but the polls are absolute bullshit. The polls told us there would be a red wave in 2022 and that Donald Trump would win in 2020 and that Hillary would win in 2016. None of that happened. And those were all the polls telling us. Peter Fitzwell says Biden will not endorse Kamala and he wants, hold on. God, it's going so fast. I apologize. Um, Can Obama be VP nominee, or is there a rule against that with Kamala being president? I don't know that Obama could be VP. Maybe he could, but that's not going to happen. Why would he do that? There'd be no point in it. I mean, it would be help in the election, but I doubt it. Facts. Why would anyone sit home if the nominee changes? Well, that's my point. It's not about Kamala. It's not about Joe Biden. It's not about Donald Trump. It's about our democracy. Once you understand that, you vote for whoever. I mean, that's what I've said before. People have suggested, well, Joe can't make it the next 4 years. And I say, so what? So what if he can't make it for 4 years? Our biggest problem right now is the election, winning the election. We get that election win, we get the Democrats in power, then we can worry about the other problems. Hell, Joe could get inaugurated and step down and hand it off to Kamala. I'd be fine with that because I have no problem with Kamala being president. I really don't. I think she's smart. I think she's a little more left leaning than Joe. And I think we'd probably get more done. But the key is to win the election. Now, these Democrats think they know everything, even though they're seeing something different than we are. They better be fucking right. They better be fucking right because their careers will end. You know how we feel about Republicans and what they've tried to do to this country. If these Democrats are successful in pushing Joe Biden out, they better be fucking right. Because if they aren't right, I'm making a list and checking it twice because I'm going to spend the next 4 years going after those motherfuckers. And so will a lot of people. It's not that um, let's see here. I got to get TJ on here. I haven't seen this thing come across. Pamela says you're refreshing to listen to. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Michael says 81 million votes to be pushed out by his own party. Not only 81 million votes, probably the most productive president in the history of this country. Joe Biden wasn't just the president, he's one of the best, got the most accomplished, and this is how his Democratic Party treats him. See, that's the problem with politics today. There is no loyalty. It's all about what goes in my pocket and what power can I get. This is why prior to Donald Trump, I was just as disgusted by the Democrats as I was the Republicans. Donald Trump comes along and the Republicans become even worse in the process. And so now I have to side with the Democrats to beat the Republicans. But as I've said, after it's all said and done, um, and the Democrats win. And I still believe the Democrats will win in the House and the Senate and in the presidency. The Republicans have just fucked it up so much um, that then we have to look at the Democratic Party. We have to fix the Democratic Party. People want to make them out to be the heroes, that they're doing all the right things and doing the best for us. That's just not true. I mean, they could have codified Roe v. Wade 15, 20 years ago, and they didn't do it. They were too lazy or they didn't think they had to do it. All right. Let's see. I feel bad for Biden, but he looks worse and worse every passing day. Well, he does look older. He does look a little more decrepit. But if you listen to his words, this is a smart motherfucker. I wonder what happens if he says, I'm going to drop from the race, Kamala's going to run, and now he's got the next whatever time as president to do whatever the fuck he wants because he's got nothing to lose. That could be interesting. I'm still not convinced that they're going to kick him out. He's been pretty strong about, I'm staying in. Now, this whole thing they're talking about now is, well, this weekend we should hear. It looks like it's going that way. They did that once before, remember? This weekend we'll probably hear something, and nothing was heard. So nothing's definite. We've got a lot of Democrats coming out against Joe Biden, but that doesn't mean Joe Biden's going to step aside. Maybe he will. A lot of people are going to worry about this, whether Joe stays in or Joe steps aside. Here's what you got to understand. Do not worry about things that you can't control. See what plays out and then decide what we do next. All we can continue to do is do our job to the best of our ability. Speak out. Um, hold on. I think I've okay. You're gonna have to give me a second here. I'm pulling up TJ the plumber. I gotta see if I can make him a moderator. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry I paused there. TJ, you should be a moderator now, I think. Um, anyway, we're moving along. Um, I'm a firm believer in destiny. I'm a firm believer in destiny, and we've gone through a lot of shit for the last 8 years. And every time you go through shit, there's always a time when you come out the other side into the sunshine. And I think we're at that point. I think in November in this election, it's going to be a pivot point for this country. It's going to be a reckoning for politicians, both Republican and Democrat, and the media. We put up with a lot of shit. A lot of things have flown under the radar, but now we've seen a lot. All this criminality, corruption with the Supreme Court and Congress. We now see it. We know it's there. There's no question about it. So that we as a people are going to be angry and we're going to have to do something to fix it, which we will. Now, I don't know how exactly we're going to do it, but what we need to do is bring the power back to where it's supposed to be, and that's with the people. It hasn't been there for a long time because we've been apathetic and we just let the government do whatever they want. Now we see the end result when we do that. We can no longer be apathetic. We got to pay attention. And this whole thing with Donald Trump has gotten more people's attention. And the more attention we get, the more opportunities we have to fix it. Let's see here. I think Biden is good to go. He's still with it. Here's the thing. I don't think it matters who runs for president for the Democratic Party. Like I say, I think the best bet is to stick with Joe, let him go in there and beat Donald Trump. He's going to win. Um, that's the best thing. But for whatever reason, we have Democrats that see something different. And I don't, for the life of me, get it. I'm very angry with the Democratic Party. You're on the road to win this motherfucking thing and you step on your dick again. This seems common practice with the Democrats, and I'm being tired of it. I'm getting tired of it. Well, let's be honest, they didn't have the votes to codify Roe v. Wade when they had a supermajority. That's not true. They could have codified Roe v. Wade. Part of the thing they need to do once they get the power in the House and the Senate, they need to get the fuck rid of the filibuster. Then you don't need a supermajority. What you need is a simple majority, one vote. That filibuster has been a joke for decades. It's antiquated, it's archaic, and there's no point to it. All that does is cause less to get done. It allows the minority to block things. And we know the Republican Party is that's what they do. They don't accomplish anything, they block things. Best through all the madness and disrespect, President Biden is my hero. Yeah. You know, to be perfectly honest with you, when Joe Biden came in, I thought he'd be like a serviceable quarterback, you know? He could do the job. He was smart enough, but he wouldn't do anything impressive. And I would have been fine with that because that was better than Donald Trump. But he comes in and he gets so much accomplished, more than any other president in that period of time. Yeah, how else can he be? How else can you not respect Joe Biden? He's done a hell of a job. And now they're telling him he can't do the job while he's doing the fucking job. It's just ridiculous. All right. They are stabbing him in his back. It sure seems like it, doesn't it? These Democrats, they are showing no loyalty at all. You know what I would suggest? If you think Joe Biden is so old, I think when we get past this election, we should make a law that any politician over 70 has to fucking retire. Mandatory retirement age 70. And I'm saying this as a guy who's 64. So I'm not being ageist here. But I get a kick out of Nancy Pelosi talking about whether Joe Biden can continue on. She's older than Joe Biden and she's running for another 2-year term, for Christ's sake. And the reason she's running is because Joe Biden asked her to. Please, motherfucker, where is the loyalty? Rational Boomer, thanks for being positive voice, not for just your generation, but for mine. You know, to be honest with you, I do happen to be um, a baby boomer, but I'm not at all speaking for my generation. That's not why I'm doing this. I've told people before, as an old man who's retired, has a pension and Social Security and all this other stuff, I have everything I need. And no matter who is president, my life is not going to change dramatically up until the time I pass on to a better place. I do this because I'm very concerned and very fearful about what's going to be left after I'm gone to my kids, my grandkids, and my great grandkids. We boomers and older people are part and parcel responsible for the way this country is now. And it would be remiss if we don't all go fight to try to leave this place a little bit better when we're finally gone. Maybe you need to refresh your live is freezing. I don't know how to refresh that. I'm just doing what I do. Um, let's see here. You're slipping and other things aren't. I'm not sure what that. Mike, you're lagging. Well, I don't know if that's TikTok or what it is. We'll see what happens here. We'll keep going here and see what happens. The media and Democrats, the betrayal on Joe is incredible. Yeah, I have a big problem with the media, both the left and the right. These fucking people just have no loyalty at all. The media is doing this for one very big reason. If there was a situation where there was a landslide in either way, they'd still make it out to be like this very tight race because they got money, they got skin in the game. They need this to be contentious and a very close battle because it means ratings and it means money to them. Um, I don't know how you refresh the live. If you folks aren't coming up, if this is slowing down for you, maybe I should uh, just stop it, just not do it, because there's no point in doing it if you're not getting what we're talking about here. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know how to refresh this. I tell you what, I'm going to quit this. I maybe come back, so be looking for me. Um, yeah, let's try to do that. I'm going to end it and then I'll try to come back. I don't know how to refresh it. That's not something I know how to do. All right. So I was on live there and I was freezing or whatever was going on. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick pause here. I'm going to go back on live and we'll see if we can do this a motherfucking again. All right, we are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. We were doing this as a TikTok live. Things started lagging, so I just dropped out of it. I stopped it. I have now since started it again, and we'll see what happens now. We were talking a lot about the Democrats working against Joe Biden. We've got people all over the media currently saying that Joe's definitely stepping aside. Now, we've heard that before, so we don't know exactly what is going on, but of course, we'll be watching it as it all occurs. We're starting to get more people back on the live. If you were with me before, you knew that we were doing a live before, and then I stopped it. We didn't get taken down, oddly enough, like sometimes happens. It was apparently lagging, uh, and people weren't being able to get the entire message. So I said, I'm just going to drop out of this. I'm going to reset my phone and do all this stuff so that we're hopefully getting the information across as, you know, as we want to, as opposed to having it, having it continue to do what it's doing. Anyway, somebody says, good Lord, Mike, what the fuck is wrong with Obama? What the fuck is wrong with all of them? Um, Maybe they know something we don't know. And that's what I've always said. If you really think Joe Biden can't do this, please tell us what it is so we know, because we haven't seen it as yet. Did the White House really make an announcement tonight? Not that I know of. I haven't heard that. I'm not seeing it on the news. I mean, Obama suggested that Joe should step aside too, which was surprising. Follow the money, my friend, is what one person says, and that's exactly true. This is about money. This isn't about Joe's competency. Let's see here. CNN is sounding like Fox. Need to boycott them. MSNBC isn't too far behind lately. Yeah, if they know something, then shut the fuck up until we figure out what they're going to do. I can't imagine Obama asking him to do that. I, you wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so unless they really believe that Joe can't win. They keep talking about polls. I haven't seen these polls that say he can't win. So if there are polls that we don't see, please fucking let us know. Um, Nancy is 84 years old. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi's older than Joe Biden. And she's a little slow at times too. I mean, she's a sharp lady and she's done a good job. But, you know, when it comes down to this, and they start attacking not only the Democratic president, but a great Democratic president who's currently doing the job and doing the job better than anybody is in decades. That seems a little disingenuous. That seems a little disloyal. Boycott MSNBC for sure. Here's the thing. If I watched one mainstream news outlet, I don't watch a lot of them too much. MSNBC would be the one where I thought I got the clearest information. And there's still some people on MSNBC I like Lawrence O'Donnell, maybe Joy Reid, but a lot of the others, I'm getting tired of them. If you want to do something about the way the media is portraying things and you're tired of it, stop watching them. There's plenty out here on TikTok and on YouTube where you can get the information you need. You know, you can come to me, you can come to Hawk, you can come to Midas Touch. You go to Harry Sisson. These people all know what's going on, and they are giving you the truth. There's no reason to listen to MSNBC. If you want to make your point, quit watching them. They're already losing viewers as we sit here and talk. Um, he's still talking. Trump, I just wanted to peek in there. I cannot deal with that. The lies. Um, yeah, that's the thing. I started while the speech was going on. I went a half hour, then I shut it down. Now I'm coming back here. I thought he would be done by then. I thought he was going to wrap things up. But then I turned it on briefly before I come back here. And fucking right, he's still yakking. And he'll go for 2 hours probably. The point I was listening to is he was talking about again how the other countries are sending their worst, their emptying out insane asylums and their criminals, and they're sending them to this country. And he's saying that this country's crime rate is going up. That's not true. It's going down. It's just all lies from Donald Trump. People are thinking that he's going to be a different person after this experience with the assassination. There's no way. Donald Trump doesn't have the capability to be a different person. You would think this entire convention would have been a little more low key after what happened, but they're still red meat eating, mouth breathing dirt bags out there like they always were. And you should be thankful for that, because these are the people that are going to sink it for the Republican Party and be the reason why the Democrats win. Uh, Somebody says, I'm scared. What are the Democrats doing? Yeah, I know there's a lot of people scared, but don't be too afraid. I really believe that no matter who's running, the Republicans can't win with all the draconian shit they did. You overturn Roe v. Wade. You take away constitutional rights away from 50% of this country, being women, and 75% of the people support Roe v. Wade. These people are terrified that it's going to be a national law. They aren't going to let that happen. It affects too many young people, and the young people are the problems for the Republicans. They know they've got this problem. The Republicans know the young people are what's going to sink them, and that's exactly what's going to happen come November. I think, let's see, I don't think traditional Republicans will vote for Trump. He can't win without them. Yeah, exactly right. That's the thing about a Republican presidential candidate. In order to win, he needs a couple of things. He needs a unified Republican Party, and he doesn't have that. We saw that in the primaries with 15 or 20% voting for Nikki Haley. Now, they didn't love Nikki Haley. They were voting against Donald Trump. Independents, we heard as many as 50% said they would never vote for Donald Trump. So with not a full Republican Party and a lot of independents not willing to vote for him, he just really can't win. He just can't. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody gets excited. Everybody gets scared, but that's what the media is trying to do. So don't let that happen. The Heritage Foundation is going to sue to prevent another nominee on the ballot. Well, I don't know if they can do that if it's Kamala. And that's another thing to consider. You know how the Republicans love to tie things up and cause delays. Well, the Democrats better be planning on that if they want to bring somebody in who can be, and they can be sued over it, and it's going to delay it. We only got 4 fucking months. You're maybe going to have to stick with Joe Biden. Now, everybody's saying Joe Biden's going to step aside this weekend, but we heard that before, and he didn't. Let's be honest. Nobody in Congress, nobody, including Obama, can make the decision that Joe must step aside. The only person that can make that decision is Joe. You got 14 million people to vote for him. He needed 1,600 delegates. He's got like 3,900 delegates. He has all the power. The only thing that could happen is Joe says, okay, I'll do it. But it's going to be interesting to see what it takes for him to do that. I got somebody here who is a Trump LaFuck, and I'm going to block him because I don't like Trump LaFucks. I block every Trump LaFuck I see. It's just not worth arguing with them. And if you're out here now I want you to do me a favor. Don't engage with the Trumplafucks. It's of no value. It's of no value. And then they start getting heated up and butthurt, and then they try to take us down. It's absolutely ridiculous. Tina says, I watched a bit of the RNC. I don't think I heard one truth come out of his mouth. No, that's probably true. Somebody else says, traditional Republicans will hold their nose and vote blue. I think you're right about that. And people say, well, you never change the base. Well, the base doesn't amount to more than 25 or 30% of the Republican Party. This is why I say if Joe Biden or maybe Kamala, if they run against Donald Trump, it's not only going to be a win for the Democrats, it's going to be a big win, maybe even a landslide, because people are so terrified of Donald Trump. They were terrified in 2020. They're even more terrified now. Somebody said, could Biden turn it over to Kamala after he wins? Yeah, sure. They could absolutely do that. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Joe wins. He goes a year or so, or maybe even 2 years if he can, and then resigns or steps down, and Kamala becomes the president. If you really want Kamala to be the president, that's the best way to do it. Another thing he could do, and some people, I swear to God, people were talking about this, Joe Biden resign while he's in office now, making Kamala the incumbent president, and then having her run in 2024. That is absolutely insulting to Joe Biden. If he'd done a terrible job as president, maybe. But it just doesn't make any sense. Wacky Fizz says, how has Hawk's messaging been lately on this subject? I don't know Hawk. I do watch his stuff. I think he's a smart guy and he knows about a lot of things. I think he and I disagree on some things with Joe Biden and all that stuff. His messaging right now, I think he's kind of staying away from telling Joe to step aside because that didn't go well for him. He's got some problems with his main account from what I've seen. They're trying to shut him down, both Republicans and now Democrats. So he's on his backup account, Hawk Whack-a-Mole or something. Check him out. He's a smart guy. Analytical Hulk Hogan will be here in St. Louis signing cases of his new patriotic beer. Yeah. You know, that's the thing I love about Donald Trump. They think they're so cool and they're so hip. They're bringing in Hulk Hogan, who hasn't been in the business, for 25 years. Kid Rock, for God's sake, who hasn't had a hit in 30 years. And Dana White, who's successful with the UFC, but he's a fucking goof. Kathy says, you lie so much. He said there was blood all over his hands. I did not see blood on his hands. Well, yeah, of course. The thing about it is that he's going to hype it up, make him look like the victim and also look like the hero. And that's what he tried to do when he explained it. It's an absolute joke. Donald, you want me to be impressed? Take off the Band-Aid. Let me see the fucking ear. Or give us the doctor's report after they treated you. Then I'll know something. Then I'll be able to believe it or not. I get this a lot. I don't think Kamala could win. Well, I think she could. Again, if there's ever a time when a black woman could win an election, it would be this time. I don't have a problem with Kamala. I think she would be a great candidate. I think she would be a great president. I would vote for Kamala in a minute. In a minute. I don't have any problem with that. And God help Donald Trump if he has to debate Kamala. That would be fucking hilarious. That would be absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you heard, they were talking about setting up a debate between JD and Kamala, the two vice presidents. JD said, yeah, I don't want to do that. He made up some excuse, but he doesn't want any part of Kamala. Kamala would tear his shit to shreds. Wendy says, working hard with vote forward letters to get out the vote. Please vote, everyone. We have business to take care of. Let's stay on focus. Yeah, that's my question. If Joe's going to step aside, then do it, because we need to focus on the Republicans. We need to message what the Republicans are doing, because it's absolutely criminal what they are doing. As long as the Democrats are going against the Democrats, you're going against the election and you're going against this country. These people trying to push Joe Biden out, I've said before, I'm going to remember your names because when the Democrats do win, we need to address some of these people that we can't trust that will work against the betterment of this country and of the party. You know, the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, whoever else is pushing against Joe. This is not the time to do it. It's taking the focus off what we should be focused on. Do you want to win an election or do you want to fuck around? Because I'm getting tired of it. Um, JD Vance is a slick operator, a convenient shapeshifter. I don't think he's that slick. I don't think he's that smart. He is an author, so he knows how to tell a story. He's 39 years old and he doesn't know fuck all about fuck all. His only political experience is 2 years in the Senate, and he got elected by a ridiculous fucking voting bloc, rabid Republicans. Kamala Harris, on the other side of the coin, has been a senator, has been an attorney general, has done a lot of things. She knows the business. Um, and My greatest fear is if Donald Trump were to become president, some crazy fuck like JD Vance would get in. What you have to understand about JD Vance, he's further right than Donald Trump. He thinks there should be a national abortion ban. He's told people that no matter what kind of marriage you're in, you should always stay in it, even if there's domestic violence. If some poor woman is getting her ass kicked by her crazy ass Trump fuck husband, she needs to stay. That's what he suggests. Uh, Paul says media has been one sided. It's all envy against Joe and Harris. No one compares. I agree with you. I agree with you. Biden will step aside this weekend. John Meacham will write the speech Joe won't endorse. That could happen. But again, I will tell you this. They said that before. They said this weekend's it. Joe's going to step aside. And did Joe step aside? No. It's nobody's choice but Joe. It's whether Joe can do it. Um, I think we would have been better off with a younger candidate, but she should have done that 2 years ago. So we don't fuck around and get in this fucking mess. Um, JD Vance is scarier than Trump. Yeah, mainly because he's more right and he's a little smarter. He's not an absolute imbecile like Donald Trump. Victoria says, I wish these other Democrats would stop being traitors. I'm riding with Biden. All I can tell you is when this is all over and the dust clears, remember those people who did this. It doesn't matter if they're Democrats, if they're working against this country and our president, we need to let them know that we don't approve of this and they need to be accountable for the shit they're doing. Um, now we got now we got a lot of hold on a second here. I'm going in here and I'm seeing some Trumplefucks come up and I just don't want to deal with them. I'll tell you what, on my TikToks, I don't get shut down a lot. I don't get a lot of videos taken down because from the beginning, I've blocked every Trumplefuck that I find that comes on my page. And I do that because people say, well, they'll never learn anything if you block them. They ain't going to learn anything anyway. My goal here is to have an audience. It may be bigger if I did what some of the others do and just let everybody come in. I only let people that are reasonable mind. They can disagree with me, but if they're not reasonable, then I don't fucking want them in here at all. Um, let's see. I'm Mexican. I'm voting for Trump. Well, good for you. You'll be one of the few. Why has Kamala never visited the border or addressed the issue? She has been to the border. Let me ask you this. If you're so worried about the border, why did Donald Trump force the Republicans to shut down the bipartisan border bill? This bill was the most stringent bill in the history of this country. This bill was negotiated between Republicans and Democrats. They wanted to vote for it, but Donald Trump stepped up and said, no, don't do that. And he did that because he thought it would make Joe Biden look good. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about the border or the people or anything about it. All he worries about is getting votes, and he will lie, cheat, and steal. We've seen it. He's been convicted 34 times for his actions prior to the 2016 election. You can talk about a 2020 hoax or a rigged election. That 2016 election, we now find out was rigged, and we know this because he was convicted. All right. Dems are doing the same thing the Republicans tried to do, subvert the will of us and the voters. Well, to be honest with you, that's what politicians have been doing for many years. They're supposed to be serving us, supposed to be doing our bidding. But instead, what they do, they play like they're elite and they're going to tell us what they think we should do, and then they shove it down our throats. Whether it be Democrat or Republican, that shit has to stop. Has to fucking stop. Let's see here. Craig says, I've never been so scared in my whole life. I'm 74 years old. I'm from Minnesota myself. My name is Craig. Well, Craig, don't be afraid. Don't be worried about things you can't control. But I'm going to tell you, this isn't about Biden and Trump. This is about democracy and autocracy. People are terrified in this country, and they are going to come out and vote in mass, just like they did in 2020. They will shut down Donald Trump. They will shut down MAGA and the Republican Party, regardless of who the Democratic candidate is. You're always on point. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm not always on point, but I try to be. And if I'm wrong, I try to own up to it. What about Trump's other court cases? Well, Trump did say, well, this great judge down in Florida dismissed the whole case. It's over. No, it's not over, because Jack Smith just appealed it to the 11th Circuit. The 11th Circuit will overturn that decision and probably kick out Aileen Cannon. So he's going to tell you it's over, but it's not over. It's just getting started, to be perfectly honest with you. We've got the other trials probably starting after the election, but that's not really a problem because he's already got 34 convictions. The Washington, D.C. trial may not start till after the election, but because of this immunity thing, they've turned this back to Judge Chutkan in New York, or is it New York or D.C.? D.C., I'm sorry. But now they have to determine what's official and what's unofficial. Now, this is Donald Trump has to consider this. Be afraid for what you ask for, because you're just going to get it. Now, what Judge Chutkan can do and say, okay, we're going to decide what's official and what's unofficial. So start bringing all the evidence. She's going to have to look at all the evidence. The trial won't start, but now the evidence is going to come out before the election. So this isn't going to bode well for Donald Trump. I don't understand why Latinos vote for Trump. I don't know that as many Latinos vote for Trump as what they say. You have to remember, half the things that come out come from the Republicans, get stirred up by the fucking media, and then Democrats believe it. You have to be more discerning as to what's being said. I don't understand how anyone can listen to Trump speak and not think how stupid and dishonest he is. Well, maybe it's because they're just as stupid and dishonest. That's the only explanation I could possibly think of. So will the media go after Trump about his deranged behavior tonight? I doubt it. They haven't done shit. They don't push back on him at all. He can say whatever he wants. He can lie, and they are just complicit with it. That's why it's on us to do that. I'll be honest with you. The mainstream media, they're not doing well. The ratings dropping all the time. Here on social media, we can do some pretty serious shit and we can make some noise. That's the whole point of the Rational Boomer, Hawk, Midas Touch, and all. Focus on those people. They're sending out good messages, and that's the way we beat this. We can't trust the media at this point. He keeps saying that he's going to win. What does he know that we don't? He doesn't know anything. Why do you believe him? He always says he's going to win. When's the last appeal he's won? He hasn't won an appeal. He loses all the time. Donald Trump's lost every time in business. He's lost all but one election. All his endorsees lose, and he won the 2016 election. And we find out for a fact, because he's been convicted, that he cheated. Is Biden really dropping out of the race? I don't know. You got a lot of people saying, we know he's going to drop out. But as I've said before, they've said that before. I don't know. I don't know if he's dropping out, but understand it's his choice. Nobody can force him to do it. He has to make the decision to do it. Gail says, why are you so negative? I'm not negative. I'm positive we're going to kick Donald Trump's ass, and I'm positive that Donald Trump is a criminal piece of shit. Colleen Crowboth says Latinos for Biden. I honestly think that there aren't as many Latinos or people of color that are supporting Donald Trump as people are led to believe. I think this is just a narrative pushed out by Donald Trump and the Republicans. And for whatever reason, Democrats will believe it. The majority of the media is owned by the left. That's not true. That's not true. We found out that there's a lot of Republicans. Republicans control CNN, they control Fox, they control OAN, they control Newsmax. They have a certain amount of control in MSNBC, but that's not the point. It doesn't matter who has control over the media. The media isn't playing the game that way. The media is doing whatever they can do to make it scary and fearful, because all they care about, they don't care about Republican or liberal. They care about money. That's the problem. And they're going to make it as frightening and make this battle as big a deal as they can because it means money to them. Marty says, I just followed you. I listened to Midas Touch. Yeah, Midas Touch does a good job. Blue Steel says Michelle Obama with her husband as vice president, then Taylor Swift to endorse them. It's too late for that. It's too late for that. First of all, Michelle doesn't want to run for any elected office. I don't know that Barack could even be the vice president given the circumstances, because, and the reason why Barack couldn't be the vice president is because what if something happened to Michelle? Then he would be president, and nobody can be president longer than 8 years. So that's not even feasible. That's not possible. Josh Bowen says Cannon hooked him up. Yes, she did, but now she's going to get her ass kicked out, and we'll see how that plays out. Why does mainstream media refuse to focus on Trump's hundreds of lies? That's a question I've been asking very, very long time. Had the media, the left side media, done their job when he first started talking in 2015 and pushed back when he lied as he does, Donald Trump wouldn't even be president right now, or wouldn't have been president and even in the running for being president this time around. Marcy says he's done nothing but lie, 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 and his son lied worse than Trump himself. Yeah, his son is a piece of shit too, and he's a failure as well. Mike, my father is from and lives in England. I asked him how they view DJT, and he says he is a joke. Yeah, that's how most of the countries. I get a lot of people coming to my page that are from other parts of the world, Ireland, Australia, Canada, England, and everybody knows he's a joke. And these people are scared too because they know the shit flows downward. Whatever happens here could impact some of these other countries. And they don't want Donald Trump in here any more than anybody else does. The Clintons came out in support of Biden tonight. Well, good for them. Somebody's got to. I mean, what's a motherfucker have to do? He's been extremely successful. He's done his job better than almost anybody. And you got Republicans going against him. They keep saying that he's going to step aside this weekend. I don't know that that's guaranteed. I really don't, because he's the one that makes the decision. Adam Schiff Pelosi worried about rich elite donors who don't want to pay taxes, and no, Biden cannot be bought. I think there is something to say about that. When you look at Republicans or Democrats that are pushing against Joe Biden, these are people that have big time donors. And as I said before, the donors don't want a guy that's going to increase their taxes and help out the middle class. That's not what the rich wants to do. That's why I say we're at a turning point. We need Joe Biden in there because he's the one that has the plan. The next closest one is Kamala. You bring somebody in from out of the blue, you don't know how corrupt or co opted they are by wealthy people. Let's see here. I don't blame Michelle. Now, why would Michelle want to fucking do that? I, yeah, I think it's ridiculous. I think she's a very sharp lady. I think she's maybe too refined to be president. She's the one that said, when they go low, we go high. Well, we found out that doesn't work. I'm not saying she's wrong in most cases, but when you're dealing with bullies, sometimes you just have to slap the taste out of their mouth. That's the only thing they understand. I was watching the stock market today and they said inflation will go up with Trump. It will absolutely go up with Trump. He wants to end taxes, which would be nice, but he wants to fix it by increasing tariffs. How does Donald Trump not know we end up paying the tariffs, 10% tariffs on everything? These people make their products. We put a tariff on of 10%. What do? They raise the price so they can cover their expenses, and we pay the price. It's pretty simple fucking math, and I don't understand how Republicans, especially Donald Trump, just do not fucking get it. Uh, GJ Nelson, I work indirectly for the Biden campaign. Please accept my request to join your live. I'm not doing that. There's two reasons why I'm not having somebody join my live. First of all, I have no way to verify who you are. I've done it before when I first started doing these, and I was sorry for it. Secondly, as I'm doing this live, I I'm recording it for the podcast, and if I pull you up, they won't be able to hear you on the podcast. But I will tell you this, GJ Nelson, you want to talk about this? You can do it very easily. Email me at rationalboomer@gmail.com and we'll set it up for you to be on the podcast and we'll talk about it for an hour. But I'm going to need some verification that you are who you say you are. Trump Jr. is possibly going to run in 2032. Won't happen if his orange piece of shit father wins. Don Jr. is never going to win in this election in November. It's going to be absolutely devastating to the Republican Party. Donald Trump will lose decisively. The Republican Party will walk away from Donald Trump, and nobody will want to hear Trump's name a fucking again, whether it be him or his son. How come his relationship with Epstein doesn't get talked about? Where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, I talk about it. I don't know why the media doesn't. I tell you this, no matter how the election goes, after the election, they're going to talk a lot about it. Because to be honest with you, these people aren't necessarily Republican or Democrat. I'm talking about MSNBC and CNN. They're for whatever causes the shit show. The media really wants Joe to step aside because that's a big story and that's going to get them more viewers. Let me put it to you this way, and I know how it works on a smaller scale. I do TikToks. If there's a big story and I do a TikTok, I get 3 times as many people viewing that TikTok as a normal TikTok. That's how it works. Epstein will be talked about when the election is over, and by then it's too late. They want to keep Donald Trump in the game, and they know this could take him out of it. If they take him out of the game, then there's no excitement for the election. Um, Pray for strength for Joe Biden. Absolutely. If Trump wins, I'm never watching any TV like CNN. Honestly, you might want to do it now. There's plenty to be had on TikTok and YouTube of people who know what they're talking about. Midas Touch, for example, that's the one that comes to mind. Harry Sisson, the young kid who's extremely bright. There's ways to get the news information, and you don't have to go to MSNBC. I'm I don't watch it much anymore because I just get frustrated every time I do. I don't feel confident that I can actually get the actual truth or the right slant on it. Um, why wasn't there a news conference from a doctor after the shooting on Saturday? I say that too. Show us the ear. Give us the report from the doctor. You would expect that out of Joe Biden. So you're running for president. We need to know how healthy you are, how bad it was. I'm thinking it wasn't that bad. And I base that on the fact that he went out uh, golfing the next day with no problem. And he started selling t shirts and hats with this picture on it. So I don't feel too much empathy for him at this point. Journey Together says Biden has done well. Ride into the sunset, pass the torch to Kamala and Beto. Now, it's not going to be Beto. They're going to get somebody who can get them some votes. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Beto fine, but Beto's been in two races and he's lost them both. You need somebody with a stronger backing. I don't know who that would be. Maybe you get, well, you can't get Gavin Newsom because they're both from California and it can't do that. So I don't know what they'll do. I'm not going to even suggest anything until we know exactly what's happening. We keep hearing these people saying, oh, he's stepping aside, but he never does. So I'm not trusting what the media tells me at this point. Do you think Biden will step down and endorse the VP? Look, I've said this before. They keep saying, well, what's his decision going to be? I've heard him say at least 4 times he's not stepping down. He's the president of the United States. How many times does Joe Biden have to answer the question? Now, with what's going on now, I don't know what's going to happen. I've heard a lot of people say, well, he's going to step down and um, not endorse Kamala. And that's probably a strategic thing. If that's true, it's a strategic thing. It's leaving the door open for Biden because if they go to the convention in August and Kamala can't get the votes, can't get the delegates to support her, she can't be the nominee, and then it just falls back to Biden. It's kind of a safety valve. I have a feeling that's what they're looking at doing. CNN is a joke, no question. I don't watch CNN at all, and I watch MSNBC sparingly, only a couple people that I like. Do you think Biden will step aside? I don't know. Prior to today, I said absolutely not because he said no 3 or 4 times. He's the president. You got to listen to what he says. Now you got all these people saying it's imminent. I've heard that before. So I don't honestly know. I hope he doesn't. I think it's important that we stick with what we're doing and then focus on the Republicans and win this fucking election. That is our first problem. Don't worry about 4 years from now. If Joe goes, wins the election, gets inaugurated, and then decides to step aside and give it to Kamala, I'm cool with that. We just need to win the election. That's the most important thing here. What do we do when TikTok gets banned? Who do we watch then? Well, first of all, it's not going to get banned. It's in court. It won't, nothing on that was going to come up for the next 4, 5, 6 years. But I will tell you this. If you're talking about me or some of the other people I know, I do the same thing on YouTube as I do here on TikTok. You can even get the Rational Boomer podcast, the video version of it, on YouTube. It's there every day. Every TikTok I do goes on YouTube. It goes on Instagram and Facebook too. So even if TikTok got banned, and it's not going to get banned, after the election, it's going to fall off the face of the earth and it'll never be talked about again. I guarantee you. This is all about people getting worked up about the election. Once the election is over, they aren't going to give a shit. Lisa Sales says, I love Harry. Yeah, Harry's great. I'm sick of MSNBC. They're catering to Trump too much. I agree with you. And that's why I'm refusing to watch for the most part. Praying for President Joe Biden. Absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. Joe is 82 years old. A man of that age, even if he's in good condition, something could happen and change everything in an instant. And that's my biggest fear. My biggest fear isn't that he can't do the job right now. But what happens? He falls down, he has a stroke or something like that. And then at the last minute, we're caught short. So I kind of understand why people want to put somebody else in, but you got to think a fucking head, man. Should have done this a year ago, 2 years ago. UAW just called Trump a scab on X. Yeah, Donald Trump would have you believe that has big support from unions. He does not. He is the worst thing a union could ever hope for. The one union speech he gave in front of a non-union group. It was all phony. It was fake. That shouldn't surprise anybody. Let's see here. Trust our president. I agree with you. I'm voting blue. If Kamala has to step in for Joe after he wins the election, can she still run for 2 terms or only one? Eric from Iowa, who's been on the podcast many times, has uh, told me what to expect. She cannot serve more than 10 years. So if she takes over early on in the administration and she goes 3 years, she can only run one more time. But if she goes beyond the 2 year point, she can then run 2 more times. See what I mean? She can't be in there more than 10 years. Harry's one of my favorites. Yeah, me too. I have to run, but wanted to support you. Schiff is a corporate shill. Absolutely. Harry, Dean, and Parker. Boycott the news. Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer. Who knows what's going to happen? But that would make some sense because she's Michigan. But then you have 2 women running. Are the Democrats sophisticated enough to buy into that? I wonder sometimes because I'm amazed by how ignorant some people are and how stupid decisions they make, even Democrats. So if he steps down, then the Republican Party in charge will block a new person. Then Trump wins. Well, that's my big problem. If they bring somebody out of the blue, they're going to dig up some tiny scandal, exaggerate it, and then it's going to tie things up again. That's the risk, and that's why it's a stupid risk. You go with Joe Biden. They've done everything they can try to do to Joe Biden, and it hasn't worked. So they don't really have much left to go after him with. The second choice would be Kamala because she's been around a long time and they've tried to talk shit about her and that hasn't worked. You bring in somebody brand new, they got no money, they're going to have to ramp them up in 3 or 4 months, and you have to worry about being vetted and what they're going to come up with to try to bring that person down. I can guarantee you they will. I mean, it's already happening with JD Vance. Shit's coming out on JD Vance, and the Democrats are going to run that into the ground. They're going to try to make him look bad, and the Republicans will do the same thing. Let's see. Why doesn't the media call Trump out on his lies? That's an excellent question. The reason they don't call him out on his lies is because he's good TV. He's like a train wreck. People can't help but watch him. And because they can't help but watch him, that means viewers and that means money to the media. It has nothing to do with the country. It has everything to do with money. Elon using Twitter to help Trump and giving 45 million a month gross oligarchy. Absolutely. Elon, um, Elon's a piece of shit. Not a good businessman. Everybody thinks he's smart, but he's never created anything. He buys company. He buys the efforts of other people, and then he sticks his name on it like it's something. I'll tell you what. Do you have stock in Tesla? If you do, I'd get rid of it because it's going down the shitter. Who would you like as a Harris VP? Well, like somebody said, Gretchen Whitmer. It'd have to be somebody like that, preferably a man, not because I'm being sexist here. I'm just trying to figure out how Democrat voters would do it. But Gretchen Whitmer would be a good choice because she's from Michigan and would help Kamala win Michigan, which is an important state. Maybe get somebody from Florida, maybe get somebody from Arizona. I don't know. And until we know for sure that Joe's stepping aside, it's kind of a moot point. I love Joe Biden. He reminds me of my dad so much. Yeah, he's a good man. The election isn't red versus blue. It's millionaires, billionaires versus the rest of us. Full stop. I agree with you. Um, I think we're ready for a woman president. I do too. I don't have a problem with it. You know what's interesting? I have a young woman who comes on the show as a regular guest, and she is a very bright woman. I mean, she makes me look good. She's that smart. And she happens to be African American. And she says Kamala can't win. My wife has some friends that are people of color, and they say Kamala can't win. And I think the problem is I think these people of color would vote for Kamala, but they just feel the racism is so pervasive in this country that the Democrats wouldn't vote for them because they're black. And I understand that fear. I personally disagree. I think Kamala would win. And I think if Kamala did run, this would be the best time possible because the Republicans are the absolute worst, the worst human beings there are. And people are scared to death of them. They're going to vote against them no matter who it is. So if they do have to run somebody else, it has to be Kamala. That's the only thing that makes sense. And I do think Kamala could win. I think virtually any Democrat could beat Donald Trump at this point. Biden says, I'm not going anywhere. I hope he keeps his word. Yeah, we'll see. Why aren't major celebrities using their platform since so much is at stake? Taylor, Beyonce, LeBron. Well, I tell you what, once again, these people don't have much invested in politics. They're trying to make a buck. Now, Taylor Swift did endorse Joe Biden in 2020, and she probably will coming up. Beyonce, LeBron, they're more worried about their bottom line than they are who's going to win the election. They're rich. They got nothing to worry about. I'll vote for a broken Roomba get going in circles over the orange-ish goblin. And you know what? I think a lot of uh, people would do that. That's what I've said before. What the Republicans have done to this country and to the people in this country, they are scared to death to vote for a Republican, whether it be Donald Trump or anybody else, J.D. Vance. They just won't vote for him. The majority of the people won't vote for Donald Trump, regardless of what the polls say. The polls are always wrong, and they have different agendas because rich people own the polls. But the thing about it is that there's enough people frightened, more so than there was in 2020. And because of that, I think that um, it's going to be a big win for the Democrats. I honestly do believe that. Boomer, I see some TikTok saying Joe has already bowed out. Not true. I haven't heard that. I've got the news going on above me. All it says right now, Trump accepts nomination in a meandering speech. Maybe he should step aside if he's meandering. My God, he should step aside. I'm not into what celebs do. We can endorse and encourage others. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what a wealthy celebrity says. Uh, hold on a second here. I got somebody else here that I'm going to block. I know a lot of people, a lot of the moderators are just muting people, but I have a rule of thumb. If you're a Trump-la-fuck, you get blocked. That's just the way it's going to be because it's not enough to mute them. If you mute them, then they get pissed off and then they still report what you're doing in your video or your live. If they're a Trump-la-fuck, they gone. We don't need them. Kamala is too far left for the older centrist Dems to vote for. That's something to consider. That's something to consider. But is she too far left for centrists to vote for Donald Trump? That's the issue here. They may not like Kamala Harris, but they definitely don't like Donald Trump. And a farther left candidate, as opposed to Donald Trump, the alternative is much worse. And that's how people are going to see it. Let's see here. I really want Swift to endorse Biden. I really think she can influence the youth vote. I do too. I think my wife thinks it's absolute slam dunk if she does. I'm going to be wrapping things up here in about 5, 10 minutes max. I would vote for the Tasmanian devil before I vote for the orange gob. Yeah, I agree with you. I would too. Um, Somebody says, vote blue. That's how we can stop this nonsense. You're absolutely right. That's the only way this stops. If we eradicate as many Republicans, if not all the Republicans that we can, we must do that. How did they get the picture of Trump under the stage? It was all blocked off. Yeah, that's a good point. It does seem a little set up. Boomer. Oh, let's see here. We can break the Republican Party up by having a Republican vice president. Now, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to. What Republican president would you put in there? You suggest Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger? Here's the problem with it. They may have integrity, but they're so far right, I wouldn't vote for them under any circumstances. Donald looks sick, sweating tonight and rambling. Yeah, he did toward the end there. He did look sweaty. He's a sweaty fucking pig. Let's see here. I hope the stars come out in the DNC convention. Yeah, that's the one good thing. They get a little boost here because the RNC convention. It looked like a tractor pull is what it was with Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock and all these fucks coming out. The Democratic one's going to be interesting. It might be messy because of whether or not Joe's going to be the nominee or not, but there's going to be a lot of people coming out supporting Joe Biden, and it'll be a much classier affair. Um, what the what did they push the DNC? Why did they push the DNC to August? I think it was always going to be August, or they maybe wanted to do it after the Republican convention so they essentially get the last word. Do you think we will win? I absolutely think we will win. There's no question in my mind. Eminem versus Kid Rock. Yeah, that's quite a comparison. That's yeah, that's not even a comparison. Boomer, is it real that Biden is bowing out? I haven't heard it from Joe yet, so until Joe says it, it's not true. What is your take on Robert Kennedy? Well, he's a wacko motherfucker. Everybody's worried about Robert Kennedy taking votes away from Joe Biden. I've said, no, he's not, because he's an anti vaxxer, a conspiracy theorist, and it's more likely people who don't like Donald Trump will vote for him. And we know that's true. We know that Donald Trump is considering that because there was an audio recording that came out where Donald Trump was begging RFK to stop his candidacy and come work with him. Donald Trump doesn't do that because he likes Robert F. Kennedy. He does it because he's afraid of Robert F. Kennedy. Not a word about policy on RNC. Yeah, that's not surprising. They haven't had any policy or platform for 8 years. Hulk Hogan was my childhood hero until I saw that. Well, he was my son's hero too. But in the ensuing years after he kind of got out of wrestling, we found out just what kind of vile piece of shit he is. And he's not too bright. Trump has a great opportunity. He certainly fucked up. Yeah, he did. He always fucks up. This is what I've always said. Let Donald Trump talk because he always fucks up. Bob Williams said he's a tired old man falling asleep at the convention yesterday. Yeah, he did fall asleep, just like he did in the trial. If the attention isn't on him, he gets bored, he's old, and he falls asleep. Firefighter's uniform had the name spelled wrong. I don't know if that's true, but in true Donald Trump fashion, he gave a speech about this poor fireman, and then he goes back and kiss, kisses the uniform. Wow. Jason Aldean was there too. Yeah, who fucking cares about Jason Aldean? I'm not a big country music fan. I like some of it, but Jason Aldean has proven that he's a fucking piece of shit. Eradicate Republicans, the Unity Party, it's best. Irrational Boomer. Well, that is original. And that is going to get you blocked. You're done. I love blocking these motherfuckers. I love getting in their heads and then blocking them so they don't have a platform. And that's why they come to these things. They know they can't convince anybody to think their way because the way they think is fucking stupid, right? Um, they do this because they can't build a platform of their own. So they come to this where there's a lot of people watching and they think they can get someplace. They don't, especially with me when it comes to my TikToks. Soon as a Trump comes out, I block them. I've literally blocked tens of thousands of Trump. If you go to my followers on TikTok, I would have a lot more had I not done that. But I'm not doing this for followers. I'm doing this to try to affect something and give people the information they need. And if I've got Trump trying to take down my account, my page, I can't do that. So I'm better off just blocking them all. People keep asking. I'm going to answer this one more time. Do you think we'll win? Yeah, we're going to win. It doesn't matter who the candidate for the Democrats is. The Republicans are such a fucked up mess and everybody's afraid of them. They're going to lose. Democrats will win. Um, we will win. Yes, we will. There you go. That's what I like to hear. The one phrase I hate to hear more than anything, and I'll tell you this, I hope you're right. That tells me you're not very confident. And in this world, in this situation, you got to be fucking confident. If you're going into a fight, you better think you're going to win or just don't get into the fight. All right. We will win. Yeah, there's no question about any possibility the Heritage Foundation and the BlackRock has anything to do with the shooting. Could be. Could be. It sounds like Heritage Foundation is having some problems. There's some young girl on TikTok that found out that they are a 5013C nonprofit organization, and the rules are very specific that you can't participate or support any particular political party. And clearly, they're doing that. This young woman got literally tens of thousands of people to fill out the complaint report to send to the IRS. Now the IRS has to look into it. They may lose their tax exempt situation and may even get fined. Um, what else here? I'm going to be wrapping it up here in about 3-4 minutes. Do you think any chance Hillary would run? No. She's getting pretty old too. I think, you know, her time has passed. She's kind of there's still a lot of people that don't trust her for whatever reason. I don't know that it's founded in any fact, but she got pretty damaged in 2016. She lost. She's been right about everything she predicted about Donald Trump, but I don't see her running again. Dems are in a panic. Oh my God, be serious. I don't know if they're in a panic. You know, what the Democrats are doing to Joe Biden seems very coordinated. There's a reason for them doing it. I don't know that we know all the reasons, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Nobody's telling us all the facts, so it's impossible for us to really see what's going on. We don't have a choice but to be confident. We got to keep our faith strong. We will win. I agree with you. We are destined to win. We're definitely going to win, no doubt about it. There you go. That's what I like to hear. Trump and Republicans are morally bankrupt. Well, that's pretty clear. Absolutely. Jamie Raskin would be my choice if Biden decided to step down. I don't think he will quit. Jamie Raskin's not going to step in. It's too much. It's going to be. I'm now. Don't get me wrong. I like Jamie Raskin. I think he'd be a fine president. But with 4 months before the election, you got to get him in, ramp him up, go down the road. I mean, Raskin would tear Donald Trump apart in a fucking debate and in the speeches. It's just not enough time. Now, if it were a year ago and they said, we're going to go with Jamie Raskin, that would be cool. I would be on board with that. I love Jamie Raskin. What do you think of Hakeem Jeffries? I like Hakeem Jeffries because he's fairly tough. Um, but I haven't seen him do that much. He's the minority leader right now. When he becomes the Speaker of the House, then we'll get a real chance to see how well he does. I think he'll do well. I think he's a strong politician. He knows what's right, knows what's wrong. I'm having a little trouble if, in fact, he is pushing Joe Biden out. I don't understand that. NBC is saying Biden's going to step down. Please tell me this is nonsense. Well, I don't know if he's going to step down, but the media keeps telling us. Remember a few weeks back, they told us, well, we'll probably hear that he's going to step down over the weekend. Didn't happen. In fact, Joe said, no, I'm not stepping down. So now they're saying it again. If they were wrong the first time, I'm not buying into it until I hear from Joe. Boomer, thank you for being calm in our storm. I have to go to sleep, but I'm still with you. Yeah, actually, I've been on here for a while. I was a half hour in the first one and an hour in this one. I'm going to need to wrap it up too. The important thing to remember is you need to stay calm. We're on a track to win this thing, regardless of what anybody else tells you. The Republicans have horrible candidates and they are damaging this country, and the people in this country are absolutely terrified. They're absolutely terrified. Now, in terms of what they're talking about with Biden, I don't know that you can believe that either. They keep telling us that the polls say Joe Biden's losing support. I haven't seen those polls, never seen those polls. Are they gaslighting us? Well, that's certainly a possibility. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the TikTok live right now. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to come back here more frequently. Things have been going well. Our moderator's been able to keep out the Trumplafucks, and we got to keep the noise loud and keep it in the narrative. And if I can do that, I'm going to fucking do it. So you have a great night, and thanks for joining me on TikTok Live. All right. And now that's the podcast. That's the TikTok live that we were doing. Hopefully, you got something out of that. We've got the Rational Boomer podcast wrapped up now. You got a pretty long one for me just being here. I usually only go an hour if it's me, because that's fucking hard work. If I got a guest, different situation. But we went an hour and a half on this or thereabouts. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day. Ed's going to be on tomorrow, so you'll be looking forward to that. Have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.